Welcome to Mindscape and Mindful Conversations. I am honoured and privileged to have on my sofa today Jonny Benjamin, MBE, award-winning mental health campaigner, author of 2 books, and founder of Beyond, a new charity focused on helping young people. Jonny, we're talking today about your experience with mental health because there's a journey behind being here. You were diagnosed at the age of 20 with schizoaffective disorder. Tell me a bit about that time. What led up to that diagnosis?
So I grew up in a sort of quite conservative Jewish family community, and mental health wasn't talked about at all, at school. No, we literally got nothing. Looking back, it's just ridiculous. I remember being very scared and very upset a lot and very isolated as a little boy. But I couldn't really vocalize any of it. And as I got older, I became more and more embarrassed, I think, I always felt very different. I threw myself into a lot of my schoolwork because that was sort of a good escape, I think.
And that's what I wanted to talk about. So you didn't feel, because you didn't know what the emotions were, you weren't talking about them, you just knew you felt different.
Yeah.
How do you think you were dealing with the emotions? Because there was obviously a lot going on there.
Yeah.
What did you do to manage them then?
Yeah, because also, I was struggling with my sexuality, and that I think is a huge part of my whole journey, and my mental health issues. Coming from a Jewish family, going to a Jewish school, I really was struggling. So I suppressed a lot. I kind of went into my daydreams a lot. I actually started to write song lyrics and poetry, and that was also my escape. But yeah, suppressing a lot. And it just got harder and harder, through my teens. It all culminated in a psychotic episode where I was on the streets. I was screaming and shouting. I felt like I was being taken over. Right. And then I ended up in this psychiatric hospital, and then I got this diagnosis, and it kind of felt like the end, I think, when I got that diagnosis.
I was going to say, did you accept it? When they said, Jonny, we've assessed you against the DSM.
No.
We think you've got schizoaffective. Okay.
No. I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to talk. They were trying to get me to talk and open up in the hospital, put me in group therapy. And I was just shut down, really. Just started on medication. It was such a weird time. But I think the main thing was in my head, I'm not going to get better.
It didn't give you hope?
No, I was like, I can't see a future. There's no future here.
When you were sectioned, and you're telling your friends and family, how did that feel?
I don't think I did tell my parents obviously knew. So yeah, I got a section 2, which means that you have to stay in hospital for a period, and again, it wasn't explained. Even my parents were like, "Well, what does that actually mean?"
Because your liberties get taken away. It's really weird. You're not in prison. You haven't been you haven't been prosecuted for anything, but yet you are almost in this place. You cannot leave, and that's a really hard concept. No other situation in your life are you in that. How did you get through it?
I don't think I wouldn't have done it on my own, that's for sure. So I think, definitely the support of other people, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
And part of the journey is medication. You've already touched on that.
Yeah.
What was your experience being like with medication? Because that's a trial and error in itself, It's like, is this pill going to work? Is this pill not going to work? Combinations?
It really is. It's oh my gosh, the amount of medications that I tried, that they put me on, and it can be so frustrating. And then you've got side effects sometimes to deal with.
Did you have any really bad side effects that you were just...
The first medication I was put on was olanzapine, antipsychotic. And the tiredness, I'm just so tired and sleepy, and weight gain as well was a problem for me at the beginning.
Absolutely. Yeah. Did you struggle with being compliant taking medication? So, you've been told you've got, schizoaffective, you've been prescribed these pills. Did you want to take them? No.
No, not at all.
So you're battling with like, I don't want to take these drugs.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, I remember I went cold turkey off them, which I didn't know obviously would have it made me really unwell.
No one try this at home.
Yeah, no, never ever. I've realised now about, you know, how it's such a process to like
absolutely.
come off.
Weaning them off, reducing your dosage.
Yeah, you can't do you can't do it alone. I thought, I'll do it alone. I can do this on my own. I don't want anyone, don't need anyone. Leave me alone. Yeah.
And so how did you, I guess, convince yourself or coach yourself into taking them?
Yeah. So my dad was diagnosed with prostate cancer about 4 or 5 years ago. He's doing okay. Thanks. And well, we both said, you know, if he can take pills and have treatment for his physical health, like, do you know what I mean? Yeah,
exactly.
I should.
Why do we treat the mind differently to the body?
Exactly.
I think so many people say that to you. They're like, well, if you had diabetes, you take your insulin. So what are you?
Yeah, I think that was like a moment when I was like, yeah, you know what? And also talking to other people that take medication and them just being like, yeah, I take medication for my mental health, and because I think again it's just such a like thing of shame for me for such a long time, but obviously now it's very different.
Obviously time has passed, but you know, it's a long-term mental health condition. How do you manage now? What skills do you use now to help you?
I've been in a lot of therapy, which I think has helped. So I've been having something called CFT, which is compassion focused therapy, which is much more like holistic than maybe other therapies. And
that's self-talk.
Yeah, self-talk
you are
is
good
so
enough.
important. Yeah,
you're not a failure.
Oh my gosh, that is so important. And I didn't realize that until when I'm 34 now. Like into my early 30s, my 20s were like self-loathing, like decade. Honestly, it was just. But yeah, finally in my early 30s, and it's still a work in progress, obviously. I just think finding a therapist, like, you know, that I can just be honest with, and like doesn't judge, and like helps me understand things. You know what I mean? Like it makes such a difference for someone to go, "You're not crazy. This is just why you have these patterns, these behavioral patterns or thought patterns. This is why, and that's okay, and you're human." And oh my gosh, everyone needs, you know, someone there to be like that, because it really makes a difference.
So a young person that's just got a diagnosis, what advice would you give them?
This is why I work with young people, because, you know, I want to sort of give them the opportunities that I didn't have, you know, when I was younger, or the advice or the wisdom that I didn't get, or the support, the hope. So yeah, I mean, I think I'd say go easy on yourself, like really go easy on yourself.
Have that compassion.
Oh, that compassion is so important. You know, everyone that I've met that's been on this journey has learned something from it or got something from it. Of course, it's horrendous. It's really tough, but you know, they've always taken something from it. And a lot of the times people want to give back. They've been through something and they want to give back, and they want to use their experience, and they realize they're not alone. And so I think, you know, connecting with peers as well is really key. I mean, there's things that, you know, looking back, I wish I would have said to my family, my friends earlier. I was so scared about talking to them, but you know, some of my friends turned around to me and said, "Oh, I've got something similar," or, you know, "I've also struggled." And I was like, why did I hide this for so long when, you know...
So as a teenage boy, looking back, you would have told your younger self, Jonny, just talk to your mates and tell them this is what... But hindsight's great, right? Hindsight's a great thing. We all wish we had hindsight. But that's what you would say. So to young people now, I mean, it's just talk to your mates.
Or, you know, if you feel like you just can't get there with your mates, like... You know, a professional, someone like, you know, there's Shout, the 24/7 text service, Shout, and there's always someone there that will listen, that will not judge, that will get it, that will understand it. Just, you know, I used to use the Samaritans quite a bit, to be fair, and always felt like I was being sort of heard and listened to, and they understood, and they got me, and it helped. You know, it helped.
Where are you at today with your sexuality?
Yeah, I'm in a very different place again, thankfully. I'm in a really different place. And again, I think therapy has really helped with that. It was harder to come out about my sexuality than my mental health.
Wow.
I know. maybe because, you know, coming from a religious background, maybe I think that maybe why I felt like there was more acceptance for my mental health issues than being gay. So yeah, I really found that difficult, but I mean, it was just such relief, like such relief when I could just.
When did you communicate it? Was it after your diagnosis?
Yeah, after my diagnosis. Well, to be honest, I took my time telling certain people, like family members. There was so much kind of fear I was so scared of what people would say and how they'd judge me and would they think differently of me because I'm gay. So yeah, it took some time, but you know, every time I like just told someone, it was like, yeah, relief. It was like, yeah, a little bit of weight coming away. I know it's a cliche, but honestly, a little bit of weight coming away from my shoulders every single time. For
young people struggling with their sexuality, again,
yeah,
looking back,
yeah.
What would you say to them? Is it again finding someone that they can talk to?
Yeah, and you know, I think again, I think being gentle with yourself, it's not easy, you know. I think it's so hard being a teenager anyway, particularly in today's day and age with things like technology and social media. Right. So, but then to have other things on top that are weighing you down, it's, you know, it's so hard. And I think, yeah, just try and have someone there to like gently push you along or support you, because all these things, they're really hard to do on your own, you know. Just having someone there as a kind of like cheerleader. And
you have founded Beyond.
Yeah.
Which tell me a bit more about. It's a charity specifically focused on helping young people.
Yeah. So yeah, essentially we set it up as a grant giving organisation. There's so many amazing like youth mental health initiatives and charities that don't get the funding they need. So, you know, over the last few years, we've been giving out grants to various charities, organisations. Now we're giving grants to schools that really need mental health support. I mean, there's so many schools out there that they can't even afford to bring in a counsellor for one day a week. You know, and so if we can give them the support to be able to bring in this counsellor, and because there's so many, you know, young people and teachers and families that are struggling that need help, and we all know about the waiting lists and, you know, the lack of kind of help that's out there. So we also have an amazing youth board who literally like run the charity. They are the kind of front and center of this charity, like amazing young people from the age of 10. Amazing. Yeah, like teenagers, people in their 20s, the early 30s. Just who are so passionate and they lead it.
And how can people get involved?
Head to the website wearebeyond.org.uk and fundraise or donate or, you know, support a project or there's lots of different ways. Actually now we've got we're building up a directory of mental health providers for schools and colleges. So if anyone is working with schools, colleges, then come onto our directory, and it's a national network that everyone can see. I'd love to get to a point where, you know, like you said before, mental health and physical health are on a par. Wow. We have that parity of esteem, you know, between mental health treatment, physical health treatment that we don't have. I really want to focus on prevention, early intervention. That's the key with the charity is, you know, instead of waiting to the crisis point, as we all get to, you know, take it back to the preventative stage or the early intervention stage. So that's kind of where I'm really focused.
It's just giving everyone a baseline of education, right? On mental health. It's, you know, it still feels like we're waiting for children to develop signs of a mental health problem before we then offer support.
Yeah, 100%.
Rather than saying, kids,
I know,
like, if you're feeling this is a skill and a tool you can use.
I know, it just doesn't make sense to me.
But we've got progress, but there's hope.
Yeah, there is hope.
There's absolutely hope.
And young people, when I go into schools, are much more open than I ever was, or any of my like peers were ever at school. Like, no one talked about mental health like at all. Now I have, you know, when I give a talk at school, young people will come up and say, you know, I've gone through a period of anxiety, or they're even say, you know, I'm bisexual. Like, they're so much more open, and that gives me real hope for the future, for sure. Yeah.
Jonny, it has been my absolute honour and privilege to have you on the sofa, and it's great to see you here and all the amazing work you're doing. And
thank you for having me. Thank you. Thank you.